Hello friends, today is Wednesday, December the 3rd, 22 days left until we celebrate Christmas. We have our tree set up and all of our stocking holders hung by the mantle, lots of decorations throughout the house. I wanted to talk to you about a few things today. I'm going to try to keep this short. The update is I am on cycle 16, the end of cycle 16. I have my last day of it tomorrow of Xylota. This dose is, as determined by me and my oncologist, working well for me. I still have no evidence of disease, but I have a lot of damage that the disease has caused. Today I went to see my doctor and went over all of the recent tests that I've taken, chest x-rays, the biopsy of the fluid that they drained from my lung with a thoracentesis, the PET scans, CAT scan, all of that stuff. Basically, just to put it in a nutshell for you, my cancer is still no evidence of disease. My tumor markers have gone up, so it's trying to fight the chemo, not successfully. I have fluid in my lung, and the lower third of my right lung is compromised. It has gotten, okay, this is how the doctor explained it to me, and I'm sure this is just the basic generic version for non-laymen. My lung, your lung has fluid always between the lining and the lung to keep your lung moist and pliable and flexible and to keep it able to expand and contract. But your body reabsorbs that as it's being made. When I developed cancer in my lower lobes of my lungs, it caused scar tissue to build up, preventing that fluid from being reabsorbed. And also that lower portion, at least on my right side, because I have fluid in both lobes, lower lobes on both left and right lung. The fluid on the right side is no longer being absorbed because there is scar tissue that is built up there, and that scar tissue has caused the lung to be in the contracted position, so I cannot fully breathe in a deep breath on that side because of the contraction and scar tissue. And that scar tissue is preventing the fluid from doing its natural thing of being reabsorbed because there's nothing, the tissue's too rough. Now I can do a process called a pleurodesis, where they go in and they remove that scar tissue and maybe even a portion of that lobe, and then rough up the lung and blow essentially what is talc in to make it stick, the outer lining and the lung to stick together so that it doesn't build up fluid again. But the determination is I have really good blood oxygen level, and I am able to function at a reasonable capacity, walking, climbing, lifting, moving, without going into distress, breathing distress. I'm going to switch hands. So until I have more fluid buildup, because it's not able to absorb, and until I have a lower blood oxygenation level, we are just going to stick with the status quo, which is the dose of 3 pills a day with the Xylota, and not doing anything to disturb my lungs. And I guess that's fine with me to just kind of continue to function as I have. My hands and my feet are pretty tore up. I'm really tender, but it's nowhere near as horrible as it was 8 to 10 weeks ago before we lowered my dose, and so I'm good. I am good with that. I wanted to also talk to you briefly about how to advocate for yourself with doctors who are telling you things that you know are not true, and how to advocate as a patient for yourself. I've recently had an experience that was pretty emotional with the cardiologist. He had told me he was relatively certain I had a cardiac effusion. He was ready right then and there to send me down to the ER for some really invasive tests. He wanted to take a tissue biopsy of my heart to make sure that I didn't have metastasis in the heart muscle, and he wanted to knock me out and put a tube down my throat and do another esophageal echocardiogram so that he could see the backside of my heart where the previous tumor had been. And I told him I would really rather wait until I had the results of my PET scan, and he was very emphatic that I wasn't being a proactive in my care. And I told him that I felt that I was being proactive and that it wouldn't hurt a day for me to wait and get the results of my PET scan, which showed that I had no evidence of disease, that there was no scar tissue in my heart, there was no fluid around my heart, and so I felt pretty good about not allowing him to do those invasive procedures after finding out they would have not been necessary anyway. Go forward 10 days to going back to the cardiologist for my follow-up and to share the results of my PET scan and get the results of the tests he had run. And it started off rocky because I had to wait 2 hours for him to be there from my appointment time. And I whipped out my cell phone and started filming a video about how inconsiderate doctors can be at times, and how it would be really rather nice if, as in the past, other doctors have come and said, hey, I'm running late, or they've had a staffer come and say, hey, the doctor's running late, would you care to reschedule your appointment or see his physician's assistant? And they didn't do that. They didn't even let me know he was running late. So he walked in just as I was putting my cell phone away and said, what you doing? And I explained to him, Sadie wants to say hi. And so does Oscar. Oscar, say hi. Say hi, Oscar. Okay, go play with Sadie. So he asked me what I was doing, and I told him, well, I am a blogger, and I, through my blogs, essentially share my experience as a cancer patient with all of my doctors and my medical procedures, and you know, how I deal with that and how I cope and what sort of things can be helpful to other people. And he was like, well, why? What are you doing now? And so I explained to him that I was upset that he was 2 hours late and nobody had approached me to let me know. And I do understand that doctors have events that sometimes preclude them from being on time. They have to share bad news with patients. They have to have patient emergencies, you know, and he is a cardiologist. He could have been dealing with a heart attack, a stroke, breaking some really life-threatening bad news to a patient, and I get all of that. I really do, because I've had doctors who've had me wait for those reasons, so I try to be very, very patient and respectful of the fact that their time is valuable, but I also want them to be respectful of the fact that my time is valuable. I don't have a lot of time left here on this earth. I don't want to spend it all in a doctor's office. So he was really upset with me about this, and I said, hey, let's just put this behind us. I may or may not even upload that video, which obviously I did not upload it. I chose not to let you see me in a very angry mode. So he shared with me that my heart test came back fine, that I did not have a pleural effusion, that or a cardiac effusion, that I didn't have any scar tissue or tumors or, you know, any heart muscle damage. And his words were, you are a perfectly functioning heart muscle, which is when I realized that I to him was not a human being. I was not a patient. I was just representative of a heart muscle. That's the only thing he saw in me as a patient. And so I was like, great. then we're done. I don't need to communicate with you anymore. You've given me all the information I came here for. He spent 10 minutes with me. After waiting 2 hours, I got 10 minutes. He didn't even listen to my breathing or my heart or anything. No exam. So at this point, I'm walking out of the exam room, and he turns to me and he goes, okay, well, we'll set a follow-up appointment for you in 6 months. What? You just told me there is nothing wrong with my heart, that it's functioning perfectly, that the previous cancer is gone. Why do I need a follow-up? And I kind of put my hands on my hips and I turned around and I said, that is not going to happen. And he looked at me completely baffled and said, but why? And I said, you just told me I'm fine, that there's nothing wrong with me. There's no reason for me to follow up with you. And if I do have an event that happens with my heart that's related to my cancer, I will have my oncologist refer me to a different cardiologist. And he just went. That is what I wanted to share with you. It is very important to be respectful when you're dealing with other professional people, but it is not unfair for you to be open with them. I had to let this gentleman know that I was not going to be returning to him as a patient. He pretty much had ruined it for me by making me feel like I had something horribly, horribly wrong with me with no medical information to back it up. Everything that I was presenting symptom-wise told me and my oncologist that it was lung-related based on previous experience. And he wanted to be convinced that it was heart-related based on the fact that I had had a previous tumor. I don't know, you just really have to follow your instincts and know your body and know your cancer and know what you've been through and advocate for yourself. And let your doctors know whether they're the right doctor for you or the wrong doctor for you. Today I saw my oncologist and I let him know that the past 15 months that I have been his patient have been completely lovely, that I feel like he listens, he explains, he's very thorough, and the whole office, from him all the way down through his reception staff, are very respectful and kind and considerate, and if they're running late, they let you know. So that was my little rant about the doctor. And hey, you want to see what Sadie and Oscar are doing? You guys are crazy. Why are you playing like that? Why you gotta play like that? Why you gotta jump? They're crazy. So that is pretty much it. I just wanted to update you on how things are going and what I recently had gone through. And things are great. We're all ready for Christmas and 22 days of shopping left to do, guys. Talk to you next week. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.